Alright, welcome everybody. So basically this is a new YouTube channel that I'm starting. It's going to be all about game development. So yeah, basically I'm not going to be editing these videos because they're going to be very long, so it's going to be easier just to record it in one piece. So if I make mistakes, just bear with me. So yeah, this is a microphone that is not very good, so it's going to be very close to me all the time, so just deal with that, please. I will be upgrading it soon, but not right at the moment. So for the first few videos we're going to have to deal with this microphone. So yeah, a little bit about me. I am currently living in London. I work at a golf course very close by, and in my spare time I create video games, mainly on the Unity platform. So this channel is going to be basically just making games from scratch. We're going to start off with something very simple. There's going to be a 2D running platformer game. I can quickly give you a demo of that. Let's just switch this. So we're going to be using an asset pack that comes from the Unity asset store. It is a paid asset pack. This is basically it. If we switch to the demo video, I think it is demo 1. Yeah, so this is basically what we're going to be making. It's very simple. It's just you control this little guy, where he's not in this one, I think it's the next one. Demo 2. So yeah, this is, you basically control this little dude. You make him run up and down the grass, collect coins, while dodging enemies. Very simple. We're going to add in some extra things like animations, some music, and some effects. But yeah, for now let's have a look at the episode plan that I've come up with. This is going to be a 3-part series. So there'll be 3 episodes. Each episode will cover something different in most of them. And yeah, so episode 1 is going to be basically importing everything we need, setting up our game, creating a GitHub repository, adding some basic gameplay, like moving our player up and down along the grass platforms, and then also adding some animation to it. The next episode is going to be adding in our backgrounds, adding some objects into our scene, so some crates and some houses and some trees, just to make things look nicer. And then we're also going to start working on our collisions between the objects. And finally, in our 3rd episode, we're going to wrap it up in this episode, where we will introduce some game UI to display the user's score, and we are going to also introduce a game state, so allowing the player to pause and unpause the game. So having said that, let's go ahead and start our project. So if we open up the Unity hub, we can go ahead and create a new project. Actually, before that, let's go ahead and open up GitHub desktop, where we will, where's that going? Oh, here it is. So we were gonna go ahead and create a new repository. Let's call this YouTube dash 2D, can't type, 2D plat, no, let's do 2D runner. So yeah, let's call it that, 2D runner platformer. and initialize this with a readme, and then let's go ahead and create this repository. Let's go ahead and publish that. So basically we're going to be uploading this all up to GitHub just to keep track of our progress through the different episodes. So yeah, let's go ahead and now create our project. First of all, we need to find out where we saved this. So let's see, where's there it is. Open in terminal. Not terminal, sorry. If we open this up in Finder, we can see where our location is. So if I'm correct, this should be on my storage under game development, Unity game builds. There we go, there it is. So that is where we want to save our project. So if we go and create a new 2D project, let's just get the same name. Let's just copy that, so I'm going to type it out and place that there. So we're going to create a new 2D game and save that into, I think I just saved it in the wrong place. Let's check. Yeah, I've saved that in the wrong place, so let's go cancel that if we can. Not a great start to the stream, is it? Anyway, we will as soon as that's finished, we'll just delete it and start a new one. Like I said, guys, I'm not going to be editing these videos, so things like this are going to happen quite often. I do make mistakes and just learn as we go on. But yeah, for now, I must mention that these videos are not going to be tutorial based. Rather, they're going to be, what's it called? It's basically going to be me just programming and making games, and if you want, you can follow along and do the same thing on your laptops or computers or whatever. But like I said earlier, some of the assets that I will be using are going to be paid assets, so you will have to pay for them if you want to follow along exactly. But there are tons and tons of nice free assets on the asset store, so choose one of them and use them. So for now, we did save this in the wrong place, so let's just go ahead and delete that. Remove project, and then let's just go ahead and restart this and move this into the right file on my storage device. Where's this game? Not that one. Unity game builds into here. So we just need to go ahead and delete this. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this into that file, into here, select folder. There we go. So let's create that project. Now we have finally created a project in the right place, and you can see all our new files that we've just added are showing up into our Git repository. So once this is all done, we'll import our asset pack from the asset store, and then we will commit this to GitHub, and then we will have a fresh new project. So if we close that, we don't need that. We're just going to wait for this to finish. While that's doing that, let's go ahead and open our asset store and go and find the assets we need. Keep an eye on that. So the assets are in my asset library because I have purchased them. So let's go ahead and find them. Here it is. So once this is done, we just open it in Unity and then just import everything. So let's go ahead and see what we need to do for this episode. So in this episode, we've got a plan here. We've got to start a new project, which we've done. We've created a new GitHub repo. The next thing we're going to do is import our assets. Looks like our project has been created, so let's go ahead and do that. So if we open this in Unity, we will see it pop up once it's all loaded. There it is. So let's go ahead and import that. This may take a while depending on your internet speed. If you haven't downloaded it, you'll just have to download it. Otherwise you can just import it straight away. It is quite a big file, so it might take a while. But we're not going to use everything. If you click on some of the assets, you can actually see what they are. We're not actually going to use everything, but for this video we're just going to import everything. It's just easier than going through the different files. So while that imports, let's go ahead and see what is next on the list. So import our assets, which we've done, sort out different assets. So for this video we're not going to be doing that because we're just going to deal with what we've got. So the next thing is to start our tile map. So basically what this is, if I go back to the asset store, all of these things over here, these are our tiles that we're going to be using. And to make a platform for the player to stand on, we're going to have to create a tile map, and that is going to consist of these tiles placed next to each other. You can place anyone you want, make it how you want it to look. So yeah, that's the next thing we need to do. So let's go ahead and close that. This is still importing. So yeah, for this video I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can. I am aiming to keep it around an hour, maybe a little bit over. We'll see how things go. I am doing this as I speak. I'm not really copying anything, so things might go wrong, but we'll see how it is. For some reason this importing is taking a while. So let's go ahead and see what else we can do. So let's see, start the tile map of the level, add the character to the level. Okay, what do we need first? Alright, so once this is finished importing, which I think it has done, I'm going to go ahead and publish this to GitHub. So let's go project creation, created a new project in Unity, and imported all on Okay, so let's go ahead. That's just to keep track of what we've done, and if something goes wrong, then we can always come back and revert to that stage of the project. So let's go ahead and commit that to our main branch. So once this is done, we can actually start on the gameplay. So actually we've already committed that, so we can actually just start the gameplay straight away. So let's go ahead and change the layout of this to streaming setup, because this is better. So let's go ahead. So here's all our packages that we've just imported. You can see there should be a sample scene. There it is. And this is going to be our main scene. So let's go to main scene. Change the name of that. Reload that. So I think this does come with some sample scenes. This is basically what it is. going to look like. There's the first sample scene, there's another one, and then another one. Basically just different themes. What we're going to be working on is sample 1, so we're going to make something very similar to this. So yeah, let's get started. So we don't really need these scenes, so let's just go ahead and delete that, otherwise things will get confusing having two scenes. So let's go. So let us go ahead and open our tile palette. So over here you can see all the different tiles. What are we doing? So we need to open our main scene. Don't save that. So in our main scene we need to go ahead and create a tile map. And let's go ahead and rectangular. And let's call, what are we going to call this? Let's call this, let's just call it game tile map. So in here let's go ahead and open, let's go ahead and open our tile palette, wherever that is. Let's go ahead and look this up. Tile palette. If we focus on this, we should get a oh, there it is, tile palette. So this is basically what we're going to use. Let's go ahead and pop this over here. Actually, let's go ahead and put this over here. So basically this is where we get to choose the different tiles that we want. The more we select, the more we can add into our game. So you can select them individually or you can select them in groups. So for this, let's go and change. Let's go ahead and let's see, how do we want to set this up? I think we want to start with these. Go ahead and put those there and then copy those like that. So you can basically make this look however you want it to look. We're just going to make something quite simple for now. Just something simple quickly just to get the game going. So let's leave that like that. So if we go ahead and play this, you'll be able to see this is basically what it's going to look like. We're going to have a player that starts over here. You'll be able to control him going in either direction, left or right. We are going to add some limits to it so he won't be able to walk over the edge, otherwise you'll just fall all the way down. So for now, let's go ahead and take that off play. Let's go ahead and see what's next. So we've started the time up of the level. We will carry on adding different tiles as we go on. We'll make it more longer and more complicated, so we'll add in like holes and put some enemies in them, but for now we'll just start off with that. And then let's go ahead and add in a character. So in here we want to add in a sprite with the main character. So let's go ahead choose the idle character. So let's go ahead and drag him in. So that works, but idle doesn't. So let's try that again. Okay, there you go. So this guy needs to stand over here, and this is where he's going to start off. He's going to start over here and run this way. I don't do that, you can't even see. But he's going to run this way, down the path, and then further and further until the level ends. So for now, let's go ahead. We need to add a script onto our player so we can control him. So if we select him, let's rename him to player. We'll go ahead and add a player script on him. And in here, this is where we are going to start coding so we can control him. So if we open that up, we can just wait for that to open, wherever that is. Hello? There we go. My laptop is struggling a little bit while recording this and running a game engine, so bear with me. So yeah, let's go ahead and start coding this. So what we want to do is we want to allow our player, or the person controlling our player, the ability to control him using the arrow keys on the keyboard or the AWD keys. So to do that, let's open up our script, and in here we want to, first of all, we want to get a reference. No, we don't want to do that. We want to go down to update, because update is called every single frame. And in here we want to go and say move player, just like this, and we want to create this function. Void move player. This is where we're going to start the function of moving the player. So in here we want to basically you want to get the input from the keyboard. To do this, we want to go if input dot get key down with a key code of no, we don't want to do that. Let's do this a different way. So that we need to get our horizontal and vertical movement. In this case, just the horizontal movement. So let's go direction of x, because it's going to be on the x-axis, is equal to input dot get axis on the horizontal axis. We need to create a reference to this, so let's go ahead and create a variable. So let's go private float direction x must be capital. There we go. So now we've got the input from the user. Let's go ahead and print this out just to see if it works. Log direction x. So this is going to print out a value every time the user presses either the arrow keys or the AWS. So let's go ahead and go to the console. So here you can, well, you can't really see it because of camera, but there you go, let's move that there. So you can see every time, let's go ahead and clear that. So every time I press an arrow, you can see it is printing out a lot, too much to see. So let's go ahead and pause that. Let's go back. So let's get rid of that. Let's go ahead and leave a comment here. Get players input. So after that we want to get the velocity of the player. So for this we need to get a reference to the player's rigid body. So for that, let's go ahead and create a serialized field of rigid body. In this case it's going to be a 2D because we are making a 2D game. And we'll say player. Actually no, let's go rigid body, just like that. And then down here we need to go rigid body dot velocity is equal to new vector 2 with the direction of x, and the velocity, the y velocity of the rigid body. So let's go rigid body dot velocity dot y. So that should give us movement when controlling the player. So it's only one way to find out. Let's go ahead and test that. So hopefully this works and we can move on to something different. So if we play this, we should be able to move the player. Okay, so we haven't referenced it in our inspector yet, so let's go ahead and first of all add a rigid body onto the player. We need to add a 2D rigid body because this is a 2D game, and then reference that into the rigid body. Now this should work, so hopefully it does. Well, there you go, we've got some movement but we don't have any restrictions on the player, so let's try that again. Let's just see. So yeah, there we go. So something is happening and the player is moving, but we don't have a collider on the floor, so the player is not going to detect that they're standing on the floor. So we need to add, let's just go ahead and add that in quick. So let's go ahead and add a tile map collider 2D to that. So that should work straight away. And clearly it doesn't, so I think we need to go. Maybe that works. If it is triggered. So okay, no, so we need to go add a collider, box collider onto our rigid, onto our player. So let's go ahead and see if that, okay, that's a bit too big, so if we, let's go ahead and make that smaller. We don't really need, in fact, let's just go ahead and make that about the size of its body. And then what we'll do is we will add in a second collider of a circle collider for its head. We'll change the size of that. Let's go ahead and do that. Position that right there. So now that we've got our colliders, you can see both of them. So what we can do is we can actually just make that higher so that it covers the full body as well as the head. So let's go ahead. So hopefully this will register the collision, and it still doesn't. So let's go ahead and see why that is happening. Let's go ahead and see element terms. Let's look this up, shall we? 2D player, not. So let's go ahead and see. First of all, let's just go ahead and check something quickly, because I don't think this is working properly. We don't have our movement set up properly. This is not working as I expected it to work. So you can see that. Let's just go ahead and see what that is. So the player uses gravity. Go ahead and freeze the rotation because we don't want him to spin around. And then wait, are we calling this in? Yeah, we are. Okay. So let's look. If we go ahead and look at this, okay, I think I know. So what we're doing is we're not actually adding any speed to our player. So here we need to create another through line first. Let's go load. Let's set that to, let's go 15 for now. So we give our player a speed of 15. So that needs to be times by our speed. So that should give us, our player a speed once we, it is still going to fall down, but you'll see there it is moving to the right a bit. So now we just need to restrict our player from falling down, and that should be done automatically through the collider. I have done this before and it has worked, so I don't know why it's not working. Let's trigger that. Why is that working? This should work. Is that working? Oh, there we go. So there we go. That's working. So as you can see, our player is moving from left to right and is no longer falling down. And however, if we go off the platform, you can see the player now keeps falling wherever he is. He keeps falling. But anyway, we will deal with that later. So for now, let's go ahead and see what's next on the list. So add the character to the level. We've done that. Make the character move in the level using horizontal input, which we've done using the left and right keys, or A and D key. Flip the player according to horizontal input. So let's go ahead and do that. So when we play the game, we want the player to look in the direction of travel. So in this case, he's facing the right direction if he is moving right. So he's facing the right direction now, but as soon as we move left, we want him to face this way. So what we want to do is we want to flip him around. This is quite simple. All we really need to do is we first need to get a reference to our sprite being the picture, the PNG of the player. So let's go ahead and get our sprite renderer. Let's go. So with that, we can go ahead and save that and drag and drop our reference to that in there. As you can see, we have a sprite render over here. So all we need to do is drag and drop that into there. And now we can simply create a function here called, not that's for sure, private void flip player. Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. In here we just want to go if the velocity of the rigid body, so rigid body dot velocity, so the x velocity of the rigid body is less than minus 0.1, then we want to go sprite renderer dot flip, not speed, we go sprite renderer. Why is this not picking up? So we want to go, let's try that again. Right, there we go. Sprite renderer dot flip on the x-axis is equal to true. Else if, just copy this, rigid body, the x value of the velocity of the rigid body is greater than this value, then we want to flip it on. We don't want to flip it, so let's go and put false. So now all we want to do is we want to call this in our update function, because this will be called every frame. So as soon as the velocity changes if it goes up above minus 0.1, then it will flip it, and if it goes below that, then it will also flip it, depending on the direction of travel. So let's go move player, just keep our code tidy. Player. I can't type. And here we want to go flip player, call that. So hopefully this works without any problems. So let's go ahead and see that. Does this work? So if we go ahead and control our player, that's going to the right. So as soon as we go right, it faces right, and as soon as we change direction and go left, it changes left. So that's working perfectly. So let's go ahead and see what's next. So flip the player according to we've done that. So now we want to create the character animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically we've got these different sprite images of the player, we've got idle 0 all the way up to idle 7, and these are basically slight movements in the player. So what we're going to do is we're just going to play these, we're just going to rotate through these pictures quite quickly so it looks like the player's running. So let's go ahead and create a new animation. So this one we will call, so first of all let's go ahead and create a new folder called animations, and in this folder we will call this animation player idle and save that. So now we can just go ahead and drag and drop in our different images, and then if we play this you'll see the player is just bouncing up and down, but that's a bit too fast, so let's go ahead and separate this out a little bit just so they're a bit even. So that looks still a little bit too fast, so if we go ahead and separate that a bit more, what does that look like? Okay, I think that's a little bit too slow, so what does that look like? Yeah, that looks perfect. So that's good. So that's all done. So if we go ahead and play the game now, you'll see that the player, when he's idle, he moves up and down. At the moment, if you move him left and right, he still has his idle animation, but we will change that later on. In fact, let's just see, since that's finished, what is our next one? Create the character animation, make camera. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this now. So if we select the player, we can create another let's go ahead and create another property. So it's not another property, sorry, another animation clip. So this one in the animations folder, let's go, actually we want to create a new folder here and say player, so because we're going to have different animations for like the enemies, the players, the fire, what else, the torches, a lot of different things. So we're going to separate them into different folders, so we'll move the idle animation back into this folder later on, but for now let's just leave it like this. So if we go here, let's do running. Is it running or is it walking? So it's running. Let's keep this consistent. Go player, and let's go running like that. So let's go ahead and grab our pictures for that, drag them in, and we can play that. That's a bit too fast, so let's go separate that out a bit. A little bit too fast still, a little more. Let's go middle bit. Okay, that looks good. So that's another one done. What else do we need? We need a jump animation as well, so let's go ahead and make that one. Let's go ahead and make underscore jump. And grab our jump pictures. So that's rise, and that's, okay, so let's do that again. So if we drag those in here, we'll be able to see, okay, that's a bit too fast, so let's go separate that. So you're not going to really see this properly, but when we program the player to jump, it will work better, so we'll keep that like that for now, and then we'll change it later on. So we've got an idle, we've got a running. What else do we need? We're not gonna do the climbing because we won't have anything to climb on. Let's go ahead and do die, because the player will die when he comes in contact with enemies. So let's go player and let's go die. Let's drag in our images. This one, okay, that's a bit too fast. Let's go separate that. Let's slow that down a little bit more. Okay, that's fine. So that's die done. What else do we need? We've got an idle, we've got a jump. No, we don't have, well, we do have jump, but we'll fix it later. We've got die, we've got a run. We're not going to have roll because we don't have anything to roll underneath or roll through. I think that's it for the player. We'll do the rest later. So let's go ahead and see what's next. So create the character animations, that's done. Make the camera move with the player. So there's two ways we can do this. We can either just attach the camera to the player. Let's go ahead and do that quick. Simply by dragging and dropping. So now the camera will move with the player, but it's going to be the exact movement of the player. So as you can see, it doesn't really look real. So we're not going to do this. We're going to do we're going to program it to make it look a lot better, and just makes the game feel like it plays a lot better. So to do this, what we're going to do is we will add a script onto our camera, and we will tell the camera to follow the player. So if we go to our camera and add a script, let's go and follow. No, let's go camera. Let's create that script. Go ahead and open that once it's done creating it. Where did it go? There we go. First of all, let's go ahead and sort this out. So we want to create a new folder here called scripts. We want to add these scripts. We want to add those scripts into this folder. Just tidy up our folder a bit. Now let's go ahead and open up this camera follow script. So in here, what we want to do is we want to get a reference to the player so that we know what we're following. To do this, let's go and get a serialized field so we can drag and drop our player in. That's going to be a transform. I'm going to call this target. So the target is going to be the player. In other words, the camera will follow the target, which is the player. And then what we want to do is we want to add in a smooth speed. So when the camera moves with the player, we don't want it to follow straight directly like we saw in the previous example. We want the player to move and then the camera to slowly follow it. So let's go ahead and create a serialized field. This will allow us to change it in the inspector if we want it to be more smooth or less smooth. This will be a float of photos. Smooth. Nice, more smooth. Speed. For now we'll set that to 0.125. Because that's a float. And then what we want to do is we want to add an offset to the camera, so that we can get the player in a good position, I guess, and not so we don't have the player directly on top of the camera. We want it zoomed out a little bit and maybe to the top, just so that it looks a little bit better. We'll play around with this in the inspector and see what we can get to look nice. offset. How do I do that? So private. Alright, so let's go ahead, save that. And then actually let's see, has our GitHub finished committing? Okay, so it's committed now, we just want to push that to the origin. So that's going to send it up to the cloud. And then later, once we finish this episode, we'll upload all of the stuff we've done today. So basically the scenes. So get rid of that. Okay, so let's go back to the script. So we don't really want any of this. Instead, we want to use, actually, we want to use a fixed update instead of update. So let's just put fixed. Get rid of that. So in here, so basically we want to use fixed update because it's going to be run after update and not every, yeah. So this is going to allow us to make the camera move smoothly rather than using the update, which is called every single frame in real time. So let's go here and let's go create a new vector 3. What we want this to be is we want to get the position of the position that we want it to be in. So just go ahead and select desired position is equal to the target, which will be the player, the position of the player plus its offset, and then we're going to use linear interpolation to get this smooth effect from going from one location to the other. So when the player moves, the movement of the camera is going to look very smooth. So let's go linear, and actually leave that for now. Let's just go ahead and create a new vector 3, smooth, position, vector, can't spell today, vector 3 dot lerp, transform dot position. So we want to go from the camera's position to the desired position with a smooth value. No, yeah. With the smooth speed. So that's going to allow us to go from the position of where the camera is, follow the player, and make it be as smooth as we want it to be, just by changing the smooth speed. So let's go ahead and say transform dot position. This is gonna follow the player movement. So we're gonna say transform position is equal to smooth position. So if we save that, let's go back, and we're gonna have to drag in some references for this to work. And we are coming up to an hour in the stream, so hopefully this is going to work without any problems. So what we need to do is we need to go on the camera. So what we need to drag in our target, and then that's it. So we will deal with the offset position just now. Let's just go ahead and see if this works. So if we change to our scene view, actually let's just drag that there. So you can see, I keep pointing transparency. So you can basically see over here, when we move the player, you can see that the camera, this box here is everything you can see displayed by the camera. So the camera is situated in the middle here, and as soon as we move the player, you can see the camera has a little delay. That's exactly what we want. Now we just need to reposition the camera. So if we go and change this to 3D, you can actually see. Okay, yeah, you can see. You can see the camera is actually right on top of the player. So if we go and click on the camera and we move this out, you will be able to see player. So let's go ahead and pause this and drag this out to the point that we wanted. So let's go put this there. So what we want is, let's do that, and then we want to move it up a little bit, like that maybe, and then also move this like that, I think. So that's the position we want it to be. So let's go ahead and write that down. Because as soon as we can't really do this while in gameplay, because as soon as we go out of gameplay, it's going to reset itself. So we can see now that the position has changed from, yeah, it's changed. So let's go 6 point, no, we'll just keep that at 6. The Y at -1 maybe, and the Z at -22. So let's go ahead and see if that makes a difference. So let's go and add these. Y needs to be 6. Sorry, X needs to be 6, Y needs to be -1, and Z needs to be -22. So hopefully that works. So if we go ahead and play this, we should get what we had just now. Okay, slightly different, but we'll make it work. So now you can see the camera is moving a little bit slow, but it should be fine. Maybe we just need to change the speed of the player. So let's go ahead and see. Okay, so actually, let's go ahead and play with these values and see what we get. So select the camera. So for the X, I think let's move the X a little bit. So make it about 4.5, I think. Let's see, 4.5. Yeah, 4.5 is fine. And then let's go write that down because it's going to be exit gameplay. Let's go change. We want the Y value to be, let's see, probably around here. So let's go 1.5. And then the Z value doesn't really matter as long as it's, we'll just leave it at 22 for now. It doesn't really matter. So let's go and change it 4.5 and 1.5. So that should be it for the camera. There we go. So now if we move the player, you can see the camera moves slightly delayed. So that's looking good. That's looking very good. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and see what's next. So now we need to control the player, or we need to allow the player to jump up and down. So first we're going to do that, and then we will only allow the player to jump when he is on the ground. So let's reset player for me. Okay, so actually I think we'll skip this one for today and we'll add that somewhere else. Yeah, we'll do that in the next stream. So let's go ahead and put that there. We'll leave this like that. So we'll go ahead and add the jump effect to our player, and then we'll wrap that up for this video because it is over an hour now. So let's go ahead and sort out this jump. Alright, so let's go back to the player script. We can close that, save that and close that because we're done with that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump. So what we want to do is we want to basically, if the player is moving and the controller presses the spacebar, we want the player to jump up slightly and then obviously fall back down onto the ground because of gravity. So let's go ahead and do this. So let's go. So now we need to check whenever the player presses the spacebar. So let's go if input dot get key down key code dot space. Then we want to add some velocity to the player. To do this, we'll go rigid body dot velocity is equal to new vector 2 because we want to create a new velocity going up. Let's go ahead and say vector 2 rigid body dot velocity dot x, and then here we're going to need to add a force. So let's go ahead and create that. We'll keep it under here. So let's go private float jump force. Let's set that to, I don't know, let's see, 5 for now. That should be fine. We can change it. No, we can't. We can change it later. Yeah, we can. So let's go ahead and jump force. Yeah, that should be it. So let's go ahead and see if this works. That should work. So if we go ahead and play our game, we should see we can control the player perfectly fine. If we press space, the player jumps. But the problem is, if you keep pressing space, you can jump into space. So we need to change this. We need to only allow the player to jump when they are on the ground. So first of all, we need to add some more speed to that because that's too slow. So let's go ahead and make this, we'll go and say that's 15 as well. So let's see, if we play this, what does that look like? Okay, that's a bit too much, so let's go ahead and check. We'll put that into, let's go over 10. So now we need to check if the player is grounded. And to do that, we're gonna have to check before we allow the player to jump. So let's go check if player is grounded. So let's go is grounded is equal to physics 2D because it's a 2D game. And in 2D games, you always want to use the 2D components of the game. 2D physics 2D dot overlap circle, there it is. Ground check. So we need to create a ground check object for this. Position, and then we want to give us a radius of something very small of 0.2f, and then we want to give it a layer mask of the ground layer, so that's going to be from the tile map, ground layer. So we need to create these. So over here, what we need to do is we need to create our ground check object. Let's copy that. Simple. let's go game object. We also need to create our copy and paste that ground layer, and that needs to be a layer mask. So what's happening here? Why is it not working? Game object does not contain the position. Yeah, that needs to be transform. There we go. Is ground does not exist. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a boolean. Private bool is grounded. So that's going to check if the player is grounded on the floor, then it will allow the player to jump whenever they press space, but if they're not grounded then they can't jump. It just stops them from jumping out of the scene. So let's go ahead and say if input.getKey down keycode.space and is grounded, then we will allow the player to jump as many times as they want. So that should work. So now we need to go ahead and drag in some objects. So let's wait for that to update. If we go to our player, we can see now. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a. First of all, let's sort this out. Put that back there. So we want to add a layer to our. We want to add a layer to our tile map so that we can determine whether the player is on this layer. And for that, we're going to add a new layer. We will use layer 3 and we'll call this ground. So if we go back to tile map, we can select ground now, and then if we go to our player, all we need to do is in here we'll just select ground as our ground layer, which makes sense. And the last thing we need to do is we need to get a ground checked object. So what we need to do on the player, we need to create an empty. And we will change the name to ground check object. Okay, so let's go ahead and focus on that. You can't actually see empty game objects, so what we're going to do is we're going to just add a pill to that so that we can see it, and then we will drag that down so we can see it. As soon as it gets to this position and collides with the ground, it's gonna trigger that is grounded boolean, and it's gonna set that to true, so it will allow the player to jump every time they're grounded. So if we go back to the player, we can now drag and drop that into our ground check object, and having done all of that, it should all work. Saying that, let's hope it does. Let's go ahead and see. So you can still walk up and down. If I jump, you can see it. You can no longer jump as many times as you want. As soon as I thought we changed speed, so we need to change that jump force is a bit too much. So let's go ahead and put that back. Let's go ahead and say 8. Save that. So yeah, I think that's it. So like you saw, the jump force was a bit too much, but we changed it now. But as soon as you jump, you can see you can no longer jump as many times as you want. But as soon as you hit the floor, you can jump So as soon as you hit the floor, it registers and is grounded as set to true, which then allows you to jump. So having done that, you see you can jump up and down, and things are working nicely. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and save that. Okay, you can't save in game mode, but let's save that. We will fix, I just noticed that the offset of the camera has changed slightly, so we will fix that. I think we'll do that in tomorrow's, well not tomorrow, but the next episode. But I think that is it. Let's go ahead and see our checklist. So allow the player to jump when is on the ground. Alright. So yeah, that's it for this episode. So let's go ahead and save that. Then we can go ahead and close the project. Let's just make sure we've saved our scripts so that we can commit them. And then what we want to do is we actually want to go ahead and commit all of this to GitHub, just to be safe. So let's go ahead and say import set up and gameplay. So let's say what should we say? What did we do? We did set up some player animations and basic player movement. What else did we do? We set up the basic player tile map and set up the camera follow script. So that's it. So let's go ahead and commit that, and then go ahead and push that. Okay, so the previous one is still currently pushing, so I will push that later on once that's finished. But yeah, so basically that's it for today's episode. If you like this video, please do give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is a new channel, so things are going to start off slow, but I'm going to try and put out a video multiple times a week, especially this series. I'm going to try and get it done this week, by the end of this week. And then obviously once this is done, we'll start a new series and a new game. Over time, games will get more and more complicated and more fun to play. This is just something simple to start off with, something very small. It won't take long to finish. Like I said, only three episodes. But yeah, please do go ahead and follow these profiles. This is one of them is my main Instagram account, which is this one over here. This is my main Twitter account, and this is obviously this YouTube channel, but all my links are in my main Instagram account's bio, so go ahead and follow all my accounts. I do have an Instagram game dev account, which I will be posting pictures and updates on these games and like schedules and stuff, so please do follow that account as well. But yeah, I think that's it. So if you like this video, please do like it again, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. Having said that, I think that's it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.